Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to the final review of the Doctor Who Wilderness Years. After this and a couple of rankings, we'll be on to the official first series of the revived era. Oh, it's so exciting. We're wrapping up the Wilderness Years reviews with Scream of the Shalka, which, like Curse of the Fatal Death, is technically not canon. But at the time, it was the first story, or the only story, with what would have been a new ninth Doctor, like Curse of the Fatal Death was with Rowan Atkinson's Doctor, as well as 4 successors. And then BBCi commissioned Cosgrove Hall, who are great animators, to animate a fourth to animate the 4th webcast, Scream of the Shalka, and it was supposed to be the first in a new series of a webcast stories featuring new ninth Doctor, Richard E. Grant, who, from Curse of the Fatal Death, if you remember, he was the 10th Doctor in that story, following Rowan Atkinson's ninth Doctor. So, yeah, and they got they got Richard E. Grant in to voice the ninth Doctor here, and of course, I think they did. They designed his Doctor to look like him. I think they designed that for most of the characters, especially for this story. And to start off, Grant is a brilliant Doctor in this story. I mean, he was great in Curse of the Fatal Death, but he was superb here. He was amazing, and it's also probably his best performance in a Doctor Who story, because he would go on to be the Great Intelligence / Dr. Simeon in Series 7. However, I think his best performance is here with his Shalka Doctor, as he's now called, in this story, and he's brilliant. He kind of has this more. His Doctor's kind of a bit of a grumpier Doctor, a bit like what Christopher Eccleston would be, kind of similar to Colin Baker, William Hartnell, but he's got himself a light side like Christopher Eccleston, and he's kind of got his sense of humour. He's quite fun, like Paul McGann. In fact, he actually sounds like McGann quite a bit. Not too much like McGann's that you couldn't distinguish the two. You can distinguish the two from each other, but he's got McGann vibes with him, and he just gives it his all in his performance, especially in the end when he's doing his big opera call at the very end. And yeah, I think Grant's Doctor in this story, Richard E. Grant's Doctor, is just amazing. Shalka is a great Doctor, and it's a shame we didn't get more stories with him, and he's not a canon Doctor. Actually, I think it was my friend Matt a couple of months ago said that Richard E. Grant should have been the War Doctor in Series 7 instead of the Instead of being the Great Intelligence, they should have called him back to be the Doctor, the hidden incarnation between Paul McGann and Christopher Eccleston, which in that case would make Scream the Shalka canon, and Richard E. Grant's Shalka Doctor could get an on-screen appearance in Name of the Doctor, Night of the Doctor, and Day of the Doctor. Plus, also, Shalka could be theorised to tie in with the Time War, as the Time Lords have sent him on a mission in this story, and you could tie it in with as a mission for the Time Lords in the Time War. So that was Matt's theory. I mean, we all love John Hurt in the 50th anniversary. We all love him as the War Doctor. But hearing my friend's suggestion, I think it was Matt Moyer, it actually makes a lot of sense. So Richard E. Grant perhaps should have been the War Doctor, or at least the Shalka Doctor returned. That would have been great, and it would make this story canon, and that would, even better still, this story came out on DVD in 2013, September 2013, and I think they were already planning that before Name of the Doctor. They might not have known what Moffat was up to with his story plans, but if Shalka had appeared in Name of the Doctor, then this DVD would have tied in perfectly with the release of then this DVD release would have tied in perfectly with the 50th anniversary, so that fans could see Richard E. Grant's story before, so people could see Richard E. Grant's one and only story before they saw him in the 50th anniversary, so they understood what his Doctor was like. But that was all speculation. That's not what actually happens. Instead, Shalka becomes an unofficial Doctor. Like I said, as much as we love John Hurt, it would have been great to see Richard E. Grant as the Doctor. In fact, maybe even the Great Intelligence could have poisoned the Doctor's lives and maybe had one of his incarnations that looked like Dr. Simeon. That would have been a good idea. Anyway, that's all speculation about something that could have happened instead. But okay, Scream the Shalka. the first official fully animated Doctor Who story it has at the back? Well, considering the other three were pretty much drawings, then yeah, this is pretty much the first properly animated story. And we see the Doctor sent on a mission by the Time Lords to stop the Shalka from taking over Earth and using it as part of their empire. And along the way, he meets this girl called Alison, played by future Queen Elizabeth X in the Stephen Moffat era, Series 5 to be precise, Beast Below and Pandora Opens, as Alison and her boyfriend Joe, the actor I can't remember the name of, and he investigates what's going on. They investigate what's going on in the town, and then later the Doctor brings in the army. He doesn't really get on so well with the army people at first, but later on he starts to get on with them pretty well. Okay, maybe not so much this one guy, but the other guy he gets on pretty well with. And at the end, that guy actually even requests to become a companion, so to speak, in which case he is pretty much shot down by the Doctor again, so to speak. He takes Alison on board though. Alison doesn't really do an awful lot, actually, to be honest. I mean, she does some stuff, but I think the Doctor pretty much just brought her in the climax to A, so he could use that little thing the Shalka put in their head as a way to control the people, and B, to show off, which is actually that's quite common for Doctors. Also, fun fact: David Tennant has a cameo voice role as a caretaker in Part 5, I think it is. He's the one who tells everyone we're closed for the weekend. That was terrible. I'm sorry. I wasn't even trying to do an impression. That just came out. Yeah, it'd be cool if David Tennant got credited here, because that would have been cool. Especially as 2 years later he would be the 10th Doctor, the official 10th Doctor. I also love the atmosphere in the first couple of episodes. The Shalka pretty much taken over, but they're making people live their normal lives. But in the 3 weeks since landing, they pretty much terrorized the town by being underground, in underground terror, and people are too afraid to go up to their daily lives. And anyone who speaks out becomes lava or is killed by the sound. Eventually, the Doctor does stop them temporarily. He does halt their plans before getting the military in, and the Shalka do get hold of the people through I suppose, their scream hypnotics. And it's a really great story, and it's handled really well. And yeah, I think the writing is also really great. Paul Cornell did a great job. Cornell, of course, would go on to write 2 episodes an episode in Series 1 and 2 episodes in Series 3. One of those 2 episodes based on a novel he wrote. He's a frequent novel and audio writer at the time. So it's great that, like with Stephen Moffat, someone who wrote for Richard E. Grant, in fact, a alternative Ninth Doctor, would go on to write for the official Ninth Doctor, and in Moffat's case, create another Ninth Doctor, another official Ninth Doctor in the revived era. And also, I think Cornell was one of the people who's trying to get a new revived era of the show. This was not that planned, but I think he was trying to do something else, maybe with Mark Gatiss, who would, of course, write lots of Doctor Who stories in the revived era. But I think Cornell does a great job with this story. And I've just remembered I need to talk about the Master. Oh, the Master. Now, here they have the Master as a robot, played by Derek Jacobi, who, again, to tie in with the revived era, Derek Jacobi is the Master here. He would have been he was the Master in Utopia. What makes sense, it would have been the same guy, and with him having to regenerate into a baby, you could have the excuse that, like the 10th Doctor, he would have regenerated into himself and then grew up into his older self, although looking a bit more like how he is in Utopia rather than here. Of course, Big Finish have got Jacobi as the War Master, and he's pretty much the same guy as in Utopia, although maybe he did regenerate into a baby at the very end of his first box set, which is the last chronological story for him before Utopia. And then he just grew up, again, like I said, David, the 10th Doctor, regenerating into himself. Jacobi's Master could have done that. But like I said, going by Matt's suggestions, if this had happened, his speculation, then Jacobi's Master in both makes a lot of sense. But Jacobi does a great job as the Master. There's a really funny bit about in part 6 where he's talking to Alison. He says, I'm the Master and you will, and the Doctor comes in, and then he changes his, I think he was going to say, and you will obey me, and he changes it to, come to like me when you get to know me. So he's actually really funny in this story, and you find him actually pretty fun here. He's the funnier Jacoby Master. Then again, Big Finish fans, if he's funny in the Big Finish audios, let me know. But he's certainly pretty humorous here and has some really great lines. And it's pretty interesting that he's a robot, and the Doctor created a robot duplicate of the Master to keep him not lonely, or a robot duplicate of the Master existed, and the Doctor offered it to travel with him instead of death. A regret that the Master has is choosing to actually travel with the Doctor. And also Prime is a pretty decent villain. I didn't get a little bit annoyed by some of the screams quite a lot, but as that's part of their characters, I won't bash them too much. Overall, Scream to Shalka is a really great story and has some really brilliant moments and some great acting, especially from Richard E. Grant and Derek Jacobi. And some really great character designs. Again, Jacobi looking more like Roger Delgado, Anthony Ainley's Master, but I think he's still got his face in it. And E. Grant looks absolutely dashing as the Doctor, and he's really fun. He's probably a darker Paul McGann before Paul McGann went darker in Big Finish after the final series with Lucy Miller. So, on the whole, Scream to Shalka, I think it's a brilliant story, and I will be giving it a 9 out of 10. Yep, this is a brilliant, brilliant story. And also, people who may know about the YouTuber Dimmy, Samantha Dimmerich, you may be aware this is her favourite Doctor Who story of all time, even though it's unofficial, and Shalka is her favourite Doctor. I don't know if she's ever done specific reasons for that. That might be something she'll have to do, a video fans may want to ask her to do at some point. But certainly Shalka is a brilliant story, and Richard E. Grant would have made for a brilliant Doctor. I do have a quick nitpick about the booklet inside this DVD. Not the story, so just the booklets. At the bottom, it said it paved the way for more animations. BBCi's Sharda in 2003, starring Paul McGann. Technically, that came earlier in 2003. It came out about May and June. This came out in November and December for the 40th anniversary. Sharda technically came first. 2007's Dreamland, starring David Tennant. That's wrong. Dreamland came out in 2009. I think they were going to put The Infinite Quest, but it went to Dreamland, maybe for space. And reconstructions of missing episodes on DVD. That is true. That's probably the most true that they had, because Sharda, like I said, it was made about half a year before this story, and Dreamland came out in 2009. If they were supposed to put The Infinite Quest, then they put Dreamland instead of The Infinite Quest. The Infinite Quest was 2007, Dreamland was 2009. So people who made that booklet, you got it wrong. You could have said 2007's in The Infinite Quest and 2009's Dreamland, both starring David Tennant, and missing episodes for DVD. Sharda wasn't even the same animation. It was more... The Sharda animation wasn't even like this one. It was more animated than the previous two webcasts, but it wasn't like this one. It was still images with some movement, in fact more movement than the other two, but it wasn't like this where the characters are moving like an actual animation, like with the missing episodes, like with Infinite Quest, like with Dreamland, like even with some of the games, quite a lot of the games they have them moving. So yeah, this was the first of the actually officially animated stories. Because the webcasts weren't really that much animated, besides maybe parts of Sharda. But this is the first official proper, well, I don't know about official, but proper animated story. So, yeah, that bit's true, but the bit in the booklet needs to be changed. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you for watching this review. Just to let you know, the next video will be a ranking of the 6 Doctors, the 6 unofficial Doctors, non-canonical Doctors from The Curse of the Fatal Death and this story, the Scream to Shalka, sorry. Then I'm going to be doing the least favourite to favourite two stories from the 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So the 4 webcasts are going to be ranked, basically, and then we're going to do the overall Wilderness Years ranking for everything from Search Out Space to here. Apart from Destiny of the Doctors, Master Cutscenes, there'll be its own specific. That'll be an honourable mention. Then it's the top 10. Then it's the top 5 8th Doctor moments, and then that's it from the 8th Doctor's era. Then we're going to bridge the 8th 9th Doctor gap with the top 5 War Doctor moments, and then we'll be on to the 9th Doctor's era properly with episode 1 of series 1, Rose, which you can find on this DVD box set. And although I'm going to be taking a bit of time off from watching the episodes to do these reviews and rankings and edit them and other stuff, I'm still excited and hyped for watching Doctor Who Series 1. It's the best series, in my opinion, of the entire show. And Christopher Eccleston is an amazing Doctor, and and we got some amazing stories. We've got Rose is a great start. Dalek. I'm currently listening to Jubilee, which I actually do have a CD of. It's inside a box. It's a bit of a hassle to get. I might get out whilst talking, actually. Here we go. I got it from eBay, so I haven't actually got it signed by people. The other guy or any owner before that has got it signed. But I'm currently listening to this on download, and it's a brilliant story, and I can see why it was adapted into Dalek, or partly into that, sort of, or at least served the inspiration of a Dalek. And explains, and this is a really great story as well. Haven't finished it, but it's really great, which makes a lot of sense because Dalek's great. Of course, you've got the Empty Child, the Doctor Dances, which is the Stephen Moffat two-parter. That's great. Father's Day before that, also really great. That's the Paul Cornell one. I'm Quite Dead, Mark Gatiss' one. That's a great one. And to be honest, the writers who aren't Russell T Davies, they create the best episodes of the series, apart from the series finale, which is by Russell T Davies, and that is fucking amazing. That's probably my favourite story of the new series after Day of the Doctor at the moment. Rose is also a really great way to reintroduce the series, as I think I said. The other Russell T Davies story is not as good as his other two and the guest writers, but still some very good stuff there. But still some good stuff, or at least not as bad as some of the stuff that would come later. Or before. Anyway, so that's it from me. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time for the rankings and then Series 1, Episode 1, Rose. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel.
After this and a couple of rankings, we'll be on to the official first series. And yeah, it works really well. And Bridget D. Grant will get a live action on-screen appearance, not like Ferkel. And but for hearing my friend, hang on, I just have to burp. And it's a really great story, and of course, Big Finish probably have done that. And of course, Big Finish's War Master box set have Jacoby as the Utopia Master. Of course, Big Finish is the War Master, and I think he's more like how he is in Utopia, but evil. And I think he is playing. But it would have been interesting. But like I said, if Shalka, we're going by Matt's theory, but going by, he changes it to "come to like me very much once you get to know me," and I think, and he changes it to "come to like me once you." Well, then again, maybe Big Finish fans let me know if Jacoby's Master in the War Master series. Then again, Big Finish fans, if he's funny in the after Lucy Miller's series, the series after these Lucy Miller. Yep, it was a pretty but certainly Shalka is a brilliant story. But certainly Shalka is a brilliant story, so I can understand that. But certainly Shalka is a brilliant story, so not. But Shalka, I mean. Damn. and Dalek's really great, so it makes a lot of sense that the and